Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Sun's beaming down. Not too many cars on the road. Trees in blossom and just starting to leave. Birds singing. Wow. I don't know where you guys live. Some of you live very rurally. Some of you probably live in a high-rise apartment in the middle of a nasty city and all these different sorts of stuff. But environment is absolutely critical, to our well-being. Years ago, when I was living in Portugal, when I was spending vast amounts of time on the beach in this very tranquil, sedentary holiday resort, out of season, which was July and August, it would just be like this everywhere I went. The cafes were just putting out their tables and chairs at 6 a.m. in the sun, and there's hardly anybody there. There was the odd person walking their dog, but other than that, it was just beautiful. And it just, of course, it stills the heart and the mind, and then you just open yourself up to the wonders of the world. But when I was living there, I came back for a couple of weeks to see my daughter, and she was living in London, and she had an apartment about the third floor up, of course on a busy road, and it was on the flight path from Heathrow, and so every 30 seconds literally there was a plane going over. There was a train line very nearby, buses and motorbikes, and everything was echoing. And I have to tell you, people, I was traumatized. And some of you remember that video. I literally was traumatized coming back to that hell. And my daughter wasn't faring up too well. She was becoming disenchanted with London and what she was doing, and she just wasn't right mentally. And I expressed to her why one of the reasons she wasn't right, which she couldn't see necessarily until I pointed it out, because reflecting back then when she goes to stay with her mum the odd weekend and sit in the garden, she'd go, yeah, mum's place is really quiet, and, mum's calm, and when I'm there, I don't feel anything like as anxious. And I said, it's the environment. We have to realise it's the environment. And if we listen to Dr. Bruce Lipton, he'll speak to you about the environment and how the environment affects our cellular system. Because what he worked out from his experiments was that it wasn't that things were hereditary, that you would get illnesses necessarily from hereditary. There's a little bit to be said for that, but not as much as people think. It's environment, and one of the environments is the way you think about things. And he was telling stories of researches that have been done, and he was saying that there's been this test carried out over many years with cancer research, various things like that. And when certain families consider that they have cancer in their genes somewhere, then the offspring take that on board and go, oh, well, I'm going to die anyway soon because everyone's got cancer in our families. And invariably they did end up contracting or creating cancer. Whereas others which had a much more positive mind and considered that they could change their reality because it was environmental, the way they were thinking, and they tended not to have it. And so there's all this different sorts of stuff going on, because really we do create our reality. And lots of you will think that you don't create the external reality, but it's all your perceptions, how you feel about it, think about it, see it and all that. So you do create it, because it's all personal to you. Whatever you see is personal to you, and nobody else sees and feels that. So For those of you that are feeling like shit and feeling that the world is crap, you've got to change your mental environment, people. And you've got to do things. And very often you just got to pull your bootstraps up, you've got to set yourself a regime, and you've got to stick to it. And of course, this was my nature always, and so it wasn't that difficult for me when I was, in my dark night of the soul. It was hard, but this warrior spirit inside, which got me up every single day, got me trudging to the gym, even though I didn't want to go there, couldn't stand being there. And I only really was firing on 2 pistons when I was there, but at least I was there, at least I did it for years and years, until in the end it just got easier and easier, better and better, and I came out of it. And I used to walk for 1 hour a day in all weathers, and of course then I used to read. So constantly looking at self-actualizing, not hitting the booze, not hitting the drugs, not getting out of my head and trying to escape. No, I was concentrating on the details. What had gone wrong, what needs addressing, and what I need to do. Now, of course, we all have a different constitution. We all have different powers and strengths. But what I'm saying is, if you are not in the greatest of shape, mentally and physically, if you're not in the greatest of environment, if you're not in the greatest of relationships, if you are not within the greatest realms of satisfaction in your work, world, life, then things need addressing, people. Things need changing. And you can change all those things. You really can if you just set your mind to it. And so in recent times I've been doing videos about just buying new clothes. For years I haven't bought anything new, and my sister, some of you remember videos, she bought me a couple of coats round and some t-shirts, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Because the ones I've got are in holes. Seriously, I've been wearing them for years. And my daughter says, oh, it's nice to see you in something new, Dad. I'm like, yeah, but making the effort, thinking why? Living on my own, not having a partner, not going anywhere, where anyone's going to go, oh, that's a nice shirt, or, oh, can't you buy any new shirts? All this sort of stuff. Living like a hermit, you just don't tend to care. But although I always have cared about the mind and the body, I'm now starting to care somewhat more about my presentation, because I think, well, I might just start going out somewhere. And I've told you that I'm actually going on holiday very soon. It's going to be confirmed today, I'll let you know. So new clothes, a new environment, a new mindset, all different sorts of new videos to make. It's going to be very refreshing. And so in recent times I've been showing you how my diet is affecting my body and my mind. How I'm so desirous to learn to sing. For years and years and years I've been desirous to learn to sing, and 1,000 times I've said to myself, I am completely rubbish, I will never be able to sing, and I'm gonna give up. And literally I had self-hate, really bad. I tell you, people, at some stage I was so frustrated that I really wanted to damage my throat, just so I could never bother singing again, because it was useless in any case. But I just kept persisting, buying these singing courses and practicing. And my neighbours used to tell me that was vile. When they saw me, a couple of years after, when they was living, above me, oh my goodness, that was horrendous. All the squawking I was doing, going through all these, the oohs and the ahs and singing through my nose. I was really, really bad, people. And I listened to singing tutors online, and they tell a similar story, how they were really bad. And they sing beautiful now. But there is a long time in between, and often these singing tutors, when they are proficient in singing, teaching, then they've been at it for like at least 10 years. So there's a lot of years that have to go under your belt, and there's a lot of years that have gone under my belt. Seriously, 10 solid years have gone under my belt of the deepest level of frustration, disappointment, and every time I would send family members or a couple of friends my YouTube videos, often there wouldn't be a response at all, because people would think, what can I fucking say, it's terrible, I can't say it's good, or some of them would go, yeah, it's coming on, mate, coming on, and all this sort of thing. Or the guitar playing's good. I mean, they even say that today. Guitar playing's great. And I'm like, well, why don't you ever mention the singing? Is it really that bad? You see, I've been putting up all those songs. There's about 30 of my songs in my playlist. And so people don't even know about playlists. It's shocking to think, but in the playlist, when you look on a YouTube channel, you look on the toolbar, kind of like below the banner, and you'll see like, video, shorts, playlist, about, and this sort of thing. All they're in there. And you can listen to songs I was singing 7 years ago. And lots of people agree that I was singing better then. I don't know why. One of the reasons is that I'm going through a transition, because I was singing very, very nosy, heady and throaty, whereas now I'm training myself to sing more guttural, more deeper, with more resonance, and people go, oh, they notice the difference. Yeah, that's it. Instead of going, then I'm going, oh, and that's the way to sing. It just sounds much better. So I'm learning, and I'm in the transition, and now I'm trying to find the mixed voice and the head voice, because we have these three voices. We have the chest voice, then we have the sort of like the mixed voice, which goes from the chest up and up until that, and then we have the head voice, which is all this sort of thing. And so I've got to conjoin all those up fluently and in tone, and my intonation in those realms is bad at this moment in time. That's why I'm taking the singing lessons and showing you guys how to develop. Just revealing all my warts, and then when I go into my therapy, doing the same, revealing all of my warts, whatever I'm carrying, viscerally, mentally, which is affecting the way I live on a daily basis. I'm revealing all that, and I'm prepared to work on it. And so that's the thing. So the question is, people, how many of you are really prepared to do that? How many of you wanted to play an instrument but just never got round to it? How many of you fancied yourselves at being singers but just feel too embarrassed to take singing lessons? Well, you can start on YouTube, and if you live in a shared house or, family house or whatever, and you think it's embarrassing, well, you've got to get over that, you really have. Starting to learn anything potentially is embarrassing. And if people don't understand, they don't have any empathy for you because they've never done that themselves, then it's kind of, fucking hell, you're making that fucking roll again. And it is hard. It is hard. So, going to the gym, trudging up and down this path for years, going to the gyms for years and years and years all over the world. And I look down this path and there's nobody here. I'll see a few dog walkers, but me, constantly, up and down, up and down, up and down, going to do my bit in the gym, keeping it real. Because I don't want to slip into atrophy. I don't want to allow my health and my vitality and my zest for life to slip away, because it's too difficult, it's too painful. I don't want that to happen. That's going to happen eventually as I age. And, I'm starting to feel a bit here and a bit there. And, for weeks now I've been limping. Because I don't wear any socks, I don't wear any shoes, I always wear sandals throughout the whole year. And on the back of my heels and my feet, the skin's become very dry and it's starting to crack. And there was one little crack which seems to have got some infection, and it's just very, very tender. And it's been like that for 2 solid weeks. And keep walking on it, keep walking on it, keep walking on it. And I've worked out that, because the skin's all cracked and everything, it needs moisturising. And so getting out of the shower, I moisturise my whole body except that dry skin on the back of my heel. I'm thinking, well, it needs to be dry because, it needs to be tough. But then it's got too dry and it's starting to crack. And it's kind of like, okay, got to address that. But just keep limping on. And things like that, we just got to keep addressing things, people. Self-actualizing. It's very, very important that we self-actualize constantly. It's like when we are navigating a ship or a boat on the ocean. When you're navigating, you have to constantly keep altering your course because the wind blows you off course, the tidal convectors take you off course, the swell takes you off course. Let's see, what else is there? They're about the main things that will take you on course, take you off course. You just got to keep constantly bringing your bearing back to wherever you're going. Taking into consideration the environment, the ocean, they spin around. You see, you've got this circular motion of oceans which actually go round like this, but then you've got the wind blowing this way or that way, and then you've got the tides pushing this way or that way. You've got all these things taken into consideration. So when I was training to be a skipper, I now have a license to skipper a 60-foot boat, whether it's a sailing boat or a power boat. And there's a lot to learn. But we have to keep checking our course. We can't start to daydream and just gaze at the stars and look at the horizon, because before we know it, we're 20 miles off course, and then we've got to come back on that. So, some of you, lots of people need things pointing out to them because they won't make the realization themselves. But what can you see me doing throughout all my videos? I'm self-actualizing, aren't I? I'm making myself a better person, a better being, a more conscious entity, educating myself, and all the rest of it. So I'm doing the health and vitality with the diet, the supplements, and the exercise, and exercising the right side of my brain as well as the left side of my brain. So when I'm reading and I'm doing all this philosophizing, this left brain, if we get all left brain, we get out of balance. So then we've got to do right brain. So then I do meditation, then I do my music, and then listening to spiritual stuff, speaking about harmony and the Kabbalah, the Hermeticisms, and all this different sorts of stuff. And so we've just got to keep doing this constantly. We can't afford to let any of it slip. And so having somebody else look into our mind, it's a bizarre thing, but in the UK, people have a very, very peculiar perception of therapy. They think if you are in therapy, oh, that guy's a nutter. And that's where it ends. The education is shockingly poor. Whereas in America, it's kind of like everybody just goes to the therapist. It's the thing to do. You have a personal trainer and you have a therapist, and you talk about my therapist said this and my therapist said that. Because if you don't have a therapist, then you're not prepared to look at yourself. You're not prepared to evolve, and so therefore you're going to have all your biases and all your founded opinions, and you're going to be rigid in your ways, and nobody's ever going to have pointed out this to you and that to you, and you're not going to be a very good person. You're not going to be good company. You're most certainly not going to be wholesomely educated, because if you don't know about yourself and about your own mind and about your own shit that goes on, what do you know? What do you know? If you don't know about yourself, what do you know? And if some of you have got PhDs and you're brilliant mathematicians and this, that and the other, you've got to look inside your mind and the proverbial heart, because it ain't just about math and science, people. There's a whole lot of shit going on outside of that. So we have to include the physical, the metaphysical. We've got to, the metaphysical, meta means outside, so metaphysical is outside of the physical. So metaphysics is a faction of philosophy, and studying phenomena and all that different sorts of stuff. And so if we're not doing that, then we're on a road to ruin. And if we look around at our relationships and think, well, they're not that great, and I'm not that popular, and I'm not getting on in life, and I'm never being promoted, well, ask yourself why. Because you're not evolved. If you were more evolved, if you were inspiring to everybody in your environment, when they look at you and they go, fuck, you're in good fucking shape. What's your diet? What's your exercise regime? You're going to get all this different sorts of stuff. How come you're so happy? How come, you always have a zest for life? What's going on? And then you've got people in the office that are just fat, and every break time, they're having a fag, and they're drinking their nasty black coffee. It's just shit, isn't it? It's just shit. On your break, you stand outside, you breathe the fresh air, you get a bit of sun on your face, and you drink some pure water. And then you come back in feeling fantastic. What are you feeling after you've had a fag and after you've had a coffee? Oh, at least I can continue on now with this nasty job. You think you can. You see, people when they are smoking, they think that these things are helping them. They think that the coffee is helping them. But what the coffee is actually doing is dehydrating your body. And when your body's dehydrated, then it's weak. And then when it's weak and it's dehydrated, it's not functioning properly. All your organs need water. And so if you're just drinking coffee, you are just destroying your body. But you think, oh, I need coffee because it gives me energy. What energy? Just to sit with your fat ass on a fucking computer, pressing a few fucking buttons? Come on, people, it's bullshit. We've got to look at our bullshit. Caffeinated coffee is bullshit. Okay, if you feel like, you get a bit of a buzz, 1 or 2 cups a day, alright. Look on the fucking health stats and they'll tell you 1 or 2 cups a day, okay, fine. But any more than that, you don't need that shit. I don't drink caffeinated coffee. I haven't drank it for a fucking long time. Just don't like it. I don't like the fact that it dehydrates my body. I don't like the fact that it gives me like an adrenaline rush. It feels like anxiety in my chest, because I don't need that shit. My body's calm. And as soon as I take a cup of coffee, caffeinated coffee, I notice the heart racing, because caffeine speeds up the metabolism. It speeds up the heart. Why do you want your fucking heart speeding up? Bum, 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 bum. You want it calming down, don't you? Surely that's what you want. But people think, I need the caffeine because it settles me, or does this or does that. It just increases your anxiety, people. That's what caffeine does. And so there's a billion things that you could do to change your lives. And of course, the way you feed the body is extremely important. And that's the easiest thing you could do. Exercising is a whole different ball game, because it involves effort. Everything about exercise is effort, isn't it? And so you've got to go there, which is an effort. And then when you're there, you've got to put fucking effort in, and all that different sorts of stuff. And maintaining yourself and, doing all the stuff, it's effort. The way I maintain my body, I do everything absolutely meticulously. And although lots of people think I look like I've been sleeping under a hedge, what's going on here is very, very finely manicured. It takes a lot of time and effort to look this scruffy, believe it or not, people. And then when you look at something like nails, keeping the nails very, very clean and manicured, that's how my whole body is. I pluck out the old wayward hair from the eyebrow, and I'm always, trimming up the little hairs around here, making sure all my teeth are impeccably clean. And albeit, okay, I haven't got one there, I'm not prepared to spend £3,500 on that, even if I had it. There's a whole bunch of things that I will buy before that. But cleaning your ears, I've done videos about this with the cotton bud. Put it right in and make sure your ears are really, really clean. But every time I put the cotton bud in, there's no wax on it. It's just pure clean, because I clean my ears emphatically every time I'm in the shower, and then I clean them with a cotton bud every time I come out. And like on the internet, or some doctors will say the biggest thing you should put in your ear is your elbow. Well, that's absolutely preposterous, and that's why people's ears get caked up with shit, and then they have to go to the doctor to get them shringed out. And if you look in some people's ears, you see all that thick gunge. It's like, that's just disgusting. It's vile. And so we can't listen to all this bullshit. And why did I say that the biggest thing you should put in your ear? Oh, because your eardrum's very delicate. Oh, you've got to protect it. Well, if you're a fucking retard and you get a cotton ball and you go, oh, cotton ball, boo, oh, that hurt. Well, you don't do that, do you? You just put it in and you twist it around and you push it in gently, until in the end you can hear it rubbing on the eardrum. And it's not a problem at all. And then you're all the way in, and then you can clean it all the way around like that. Good God. There's just so many realms where, when you're a thinking person, there's so many realms where you just see stupid shit, where you just see ignorance, where people have just heard one thing and they live their lives by it. Like a stupid fucking thing, like the biggest thing or the smallest thing you should put in your ear is your elbow. They never look for a second opinion. You've got to keep looking incessantly for opinions. And lots of you may think you've not got the time and you find it very tiresome and all the rest of it. Well, I mean, it depends, you see. Look, I'm always thinking to myself, well, I could never, ever, ever have a job more than 1 or 2 days a week, because everything I do is meticulous and it's orderly. So I got up this morning at 5 a.m. and I'm checking all my plants, and lots of them are getting a bit dry, so I'm watering all my plants and I'm taking care of all those, and then I'm cleaning the bathroom floor and cleaning the sink, because as soon as it gets just a little bit dirty, I'm on it. I don't like the place to be dirty. It's not like I've got obsessive compulsive cleaning tendencies. I just like things clean. Like I say, I grew up in effectively an army camp, and I know how things should be clean and maintained, and I don't like a dirty toilet. The last thing that's ever going to happen in my house is a dirty toilet and a dirty sink and a dirty kitchen, and I get the Hoover out almost every day. Just things like this. But many of you don't. You've not had the schooling, you're not born like that, you're not created like that, and so you fail yourselves. It's the attention to details. And you see, now it's 8 o'clock and I'm going to the gym. Well, if I was doing some stupid ass job, I'd be sitting in the traffic now, wouldn't I? I'm never ever in my fucking life going to be sitting constantly in fucking traffic. Just not going to do it. And so if I ever do get a job, then someone's going to need to come to collect me with a fucking helicopter and take me to it. I'll do the job for about 2 or 3 fucking hours, and then they'll bring me back in the helicopter. And you see, I don't mind saying all this stuff. And some people, they may like, you have to be careful what you say on the internet. I don't have to be careful what I say anywhere about anything. Why? Because I'm completely protected individual. There's nothing that nobody could ever do to this. I'm protected by the cosmos. And so I can say whatever I want to say about the government and this, that and the other, because I know what I'm doing. and I know what I need to comply with in certain realms, and I know what I need to cover, and all that different sort of stuff. I don't need to be careful what I say to anybody or anything. If people don't like it, then they don't need to talk to me or watch me. And so, I'm completely free. And that is an amazing, incredible experience, people, when you are completely free. Yes. So my whole day is given to the things that I'm working on, my therapy and my diet and my singing and my guitar playing and my nature walks and caring for my family in the garden, Providence, and all that different sort of stuff. And then when I've done all that, I've got to care for my environment. So getting back to environment, people, when you live in a beautifully kept home, then that's the foundation of your environment, because everything is orderly and clean. And then from that, your cleanliness and your orderliness comes, into the greater fruition. And so bathrooms clean, kitchen's clean, everything's in its right place, it's all ready to go. So it's very, very efficient, isn't it? And then all your clothes are hanging up on the fucking rack, and they're all folded in your drawer, so you know exactly what you've got. They're not in a pile in the corner, and it's kind of like, oh, I've got to do the washing. Then you look for some underpants, and there isn't any. All this stuff. I don't know how you can live like that. I don't know how people live like that. I just don't. Maybe because you've got jobs that take 10 hours a day that you can't get time to do everything. So what I would say then, do what I do. You fuck the job off. You fuck the job off, and you get this in sync. You get your mind in sync with your body and with your heart, and you have a holistic health, and you get this catered for. And then if you've got time to do anything else, a job, whatever, then okay, you do a little bit of that if you want to, but this is the most important thing. And so those of you that are not taking this into consideration, and you're obese and you're unhealthy and I don't have the time, well, you're heading for an early grave, and you're heading for a very unsatisfactory life, because you're going to age before your time, and you're not going to be able to do this with your kids. You're not going to have the confidence to do that. And if someone said to you, do you want to come skiing, do you want to come rock climbing, do you want to go forest bathing, you're going to go, oh fuck, I can't fucking barely walk more than fucking 20 yards. So you're fucked, in you. So people, what I'm saying is, self-actualize, the attention to detail. That's what you need to be on. That's the most important.